What's going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Let's talk Peter Quillin. I'm gonna go right into it. Recently I did a video, 2014 wrap-up review, where I spoke of some of the mishaps in boxing today. For example, Danny Garcia fighting Rod Salka, a guy that's not even ranked. Okay, then you had Adonis Stevenson, a guy that was fighter of the year last year, and this year his buzz just kind of diminished because he didn't fight Kovalev. He left HBO, went over to Showtime, tried to get a fight with Bernard Hopkins, didn't get that fight, and then Kovalev ended up fighting Bernard Hopkins and taking the title. Okay, now he has 3 titles in the division. And then also, you know, I also spoke about Demetrius Andrade, how I thought he should have fought Jermell Charlo. Okay, I also believe that he should have fought Matt Korobov, just because you would have more leverage on deciding what fights to pick, you know, who you want to fight. If you have a title, you already hit the WBO champ at 154. If you were the WBO champ at 160, now you have some more leeway on what you want to fight. You know, what fights you want to take. You can fight at 160. You can fight at 154. You know, you have more options. Okay. I spoke about those things, but none of those are in comparison to what Peter Quillin has done this year. Okay, I think Peter Quillin has took it to a whole new level of ducking and just taking. I can't even explain what Peter Quillin has done. Okay, and this interview he did recently, he spoke about Andy Lee and Matt Korobov, about why. Well, he didn't really dive or dip into why he turned down the fight with Matt Korobov, but he talks about that, and he talks about fighting Golovkin and why he hasn't fought Golovkin. Okay, he feel like the risk is not really worth the reward. The money is not really there. And I've never seen an interview this year that was so bad. You know, this was the worst interview I've seen all year, and it kind of, you know, after you watch the interview, you kind of understand why Peter Quillin hasn't done an interview speaking about the Matt Korobov fight not happening and why he hasn't fought Golovkin, because it makes sense. He really doesn't have a reason. You know, he was making some excuses in the video on why he didn't take the fight, and this is why we haven't heard an interview with him. You know, and I'm sure he probably didn't want to give one, because he really doesn't have a reason on why he didn't fight. You know, he doesn't really have one. So, you know, let's bring everybody up to speed. Roc Nation offered a fight. They won the purse bid for the Matt Korobov fight. Matt Korobov was the #1 contender for the WBO title that Peter Quillin used to have. Okay, Quillin, Roc Nation offered to pay them $1.4 million, something crazy. I know it all added up to like $2 million. Okay, so Quillin was gonna get like 1.5. Let's say Korobov was gonna get like 500,000. Okay. Now Peter Quillin is an Al Haymon fighter. Al Haymon has history with Jay-Z, or Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce. Okay, and Roc Nation, you know, is the one that won the purse bid, and Peter Quillin did not take the fight. I'm sure it was in connection to Al Haymon. All right, and this fight here was, not only did he not take the fight, but he vacated his WBO title. So you give up your highest payday up to this point. All right, you never got paid anywhere near that high for one fight. Not only that, but you relinquish your WBO title. All right, the title that you won, you fought and won, you gave up the title. Now in the interview he did, he's saying that, you know, that's the choice he made. He has to do what he has to do for himself. It wasn't a time for him to fight. He said something about a relative having cancer. He just said it wasn't the right time. Okay, he also said something about Al Haymon. That's his advisor. You know, that's what he was advised to do. Okay, he didn't say it in those exact words, but he said something in accordance where Al Haymon was the reason why he didn't take the fight. okay, which is pretty obvious, all right, and I'll get more into that. Now, the problem with that and what he's saying, okay, he goes into Golovkin and says, you know, fighting Golovkin to me is, the money is not really worth the risk in fighting Golovkin. You know, he acknowledges that Golovkin is indeed a risk, okay, that Golovkin is the so-called bad guy of the 160 division, all right, but he doesn't feel like the fight is worth it, okay, the money is not worth it, and he doesn't want to do it because he's gonna be the guy the fans will say that he's the first guy to beat Golovkin. He doesn't think that's worth it, all right, even though Golovkin is the most feared fighter at 160. Golovkin is undefeated. He is a rising star, a bigger star than Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin, he is a bigger star than you, all right, he is a bigger star than you. Okay, he's fighting as the main event in Madison Square Garden. I know you fought as the main event at Barclays once, okay, I think against Indom, your biggest fight. But what have you done since then? Okay, who was the last guy you fought? I can't even remember his name. I can't remember the guy's name. Okay, you beat Gabe Rosado, a guy that everyone seems to be beating in boxing today. Okay, at 160. Gabe Rosado has lost the last 4 or 5 of his boxings. Not the Brian Vera fight. I'm talking about inside the square ring. He has lost about every single fight in recent memory. All right, all tough fights. And I love Gabe Rosado, but he has lost. Okay, and it's crazy because Gabe was actually, the momentum was changing in his favor when they stopped the fight. Okay, because of the cut. All right, he was actually beating you when they stopped that fight. So my thing is this: you make an interview talking money. All right, the Golovkin fight is not big, but at the same time, you just turned down your biggest payday. Okay, to fight a guy that just got knocked out. All right, you're not making any sense. And I wasn't expecting him to make any sense. This is why we haven't heard a Peter Quillin interview since all of this has happened. Because what is he going to say in the interview? There's nothing he can say. You know? And he didn't really have an excuse. He was making excuses and none of it made sense. He contradicted himself throughout the whole interview. Based on your actions and based on what you're saying, you're about the money. You're not really about the fans. You're about the money. Okay, I'm sure if you were to fight Golovkin, it would be your biggest payday. Okay, because Golovkin is leaps and bounds beyond anybody you have faced up to this point. You know, so where exactly is he going? He's not really going anywhere. And right now, it's looking bad for him because now you don't have a title. You know, the guy that was doing the interview asked him about Billy Joe Saunders, and he's talking like, yeah, you know, I heard Billy Joe Saunders been calling me out and saying he wants to fight me. You know, maybe he wants to get a, you know, he wants a big shot at Peter Quillin because, you know, that would be his big shot, his big money fight. You know, he's talking like he's some big top dog. And I'm like, yo, that's the problem with these boxers today. They haven't even reached that point, and they're already sitting back talking like they're top dogs. Like, yeah, you know, he's trying to get a Peter Quillin fight, a Kid Chocolate fight. Like, what is wrong with these up and coming guys? All right, he's still an up and coming guy. Now you don't have a title, and now you're 1.5 million broker than you could have been. I think he would have won the Matt Korobov fight. I don't think he would have knocked him out like Andy Lee did, but I think he was going to win the fight if they fought. I thought I was leaning a little bit more towards Peter Quillin to win that fight. But now Andy Lee came in and stole your shine and stole your title. Didn't get paid as much as you did. But it doesn't matter because now he has the leverage because now he has your title. And now he has the leverage to call shots or fight, you know, better opportunities, better fighters, because now he has a title. Now you don't have that anymore. You have nothing. Now fighters could go back and look at you like, well, what's the risk of fighting Peter Quillin? He doesn't even have a title. What am I fighting him for? Your name? Why? Because, you know, what, you was the main event at the Barclays a couple years back? you know, I haven't seen you be in the main event. You've been on the undercard of the undercard since then. You know, so I don't understand why, you know, for him to be a champion and to give up his title is disrespectful. There's so many boxers that had to fight and do much more than you had to do to finally get that title. And you sitting here giving it up. Now, on his defense, well, not really on his defense. I understand why this happened, all right? I believe Peter Quillin, I really don't believe Peter Quillin wanted to give up his title or wanted to turn down 1.5 million. All right, I think this was because of poor advising, all right? I think his advisor has a serious issue with doing any business with Roc Nation, okay? You know, I don't think he had much of a choice here, okay? And I think he's stuck now. I think he might have been promised something good. But as far as what we've seen, what are you getting out of it? Are you getting a Cotto fight out of it? A pay-per-view fight with Cotto? Are you getting a pay-per-view fight with Golovkin? Are you getting a pay-per-view fight with Julio Cesar Chavez? Like, what are you gaining from not taking that Matt Korobov fight? Your biggest payday, and, you know, you're fighting an undefeated fighter. You know, what were you going to get? What are you going to get now that you didn't take that fight? And it's a slap in the face. It is a slap in the face to people that had to do much more than you to get a title shot. So I don't think Peter Quillin is done. You know, the person asked me to do the video, asked me, you know, do I think it's over for Peter Quillin? I don't think it's over for Peter Quillin, but he needs to change things right now. Okay, he needs to win the fans. Yes, the fans are important. You need to win the fans back over, the real boxing fans, not the Mayweather and Pacquiao fans that just want to see that one fight. I'm talking about the real die-hard fans. You need to win them back over, okay? You need to take some bigger fights, you know, fight some of these guys at the division and prove to them that you could be one of the best, because the risk was worth it with Golovkin, all right? Golovkin beat Gabe Rosado, and guess what? Gabe Rosado is the main event at the Barclays, the same borough that you're from. Gabe Rosado is not even a New Yorker, and he's holding main events at the Barclays. And you're sitting here saying that you're making it seem like your name is too big for all of these other fighters. You know, you're not the main event at the Madison Square Garden. You know, I don't know what's up with these boxers where they just, you know, they haven't really accomplished that much. I mean, I know a title is a big thing. It is. But today, in today's sport, a title, it is big. But you still got to do more. You know, you guys are not Floyd Mayweather. You're not Manny Pacquiao. You're not Klitschko. You're not any of those fighters. You know, you're not Canelo. You're not Cotto. You're not none of those fighters. Okay, you're not on the pay-per-view. So I don't know why these fighters continue to have this attitude today when they really haven't accomplished that much. He needs to gain the respect from the real boxing fans back at this point. You know, fight Danny Jacobs, fight Andy Lee. See if you can get the shot Andy Lee, win your belt back. You know, do something right now, because I don't know who he's trying to fight exactly, because he's not saying anything, but he's lost the respect from the diehards right now, you know, and he's a good fighter, but he's lost the respect. You know, you can argue that maybe he's the best boxer at 160, you know, besides Golovkin. I'm sure most people would say that Golovkin would beat him, but outside of Golovkin, you know, you can argue, it's very debatable who's the best, who's the second best. It's very debatable. I don't know. The dude gotta get it together, man. And, you know, I don't know what Al Heyman has promised him for him turning down that fight, but he needs to get it back together. You know, that interview was a terrible, terrible interview, you know. It's all the contradictions. He's all about the money. He's not really about the fans. He's all about the money, but he's turning down 1.5 million. I don't know. All right. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Peter Quillin, man. I hope he gets it together, because he's a good fighter and he's a native New Yorker. And, you know, I like him, but he has to get it together, man. He's all messed up right now. All right. So anyway, make sure y'all hit subscribe.